Chapter 7, Organizing the Physical Facilities.
Good day, Ma'am. I am Jeneriel Cagas, a Bshm 2B. For this presentation, I will be present at Chapter 7, Organizing the Physical Facilities.
The physical facilities of an industrial enterprise consist of: first, the manufacturing plant; second, the building and premise; and third, the machine and equipment necessary to make a product or range of products in the quantities desired. In the organization of these facilities, the following main steps are required: A. Selection of the plant location. B. Selection and of buildings. C. Selection of that equipment. D. Plan and machine layout installation of the equipment. And lastly, A. Installation of equipment. Selection of the plant location. The decision as to the location of an industrial plant has a vital effect on the success or failure of the operation of such a plant.
Therefore, it should be based upon a careful consideration of all the factors pertinent to the particular enterprise.
In the selection of plant location, the following consideration should be taken into account: determining the region, determining the community, and choosing the plant site. Determining the region. Determining the region in which the AT is to be located requires condensation of 5 prime factors, namely: number 1, proximity to market; number 2, proximity to necessary materials; number 3, transportation facilities; and number 4, adequate public and private service such as water, power, HVAC, and etc. Proximity to market. There has been established a relationship between the centers of population and manufacturing, a relationship indicating that industry, in general, tends to seek its market. The tendency of a plant to locate near its market has been evident. First, where the product is perishable, as for example, bakeries. Second, where professional skills is important, see photographers, tailors, and others whose style or craftsmanship the customers want to see first before buying. Third, where processing adds weights, as for example, the preparation of bottled drinks, which involves perhaps 90% of water plus the weights of the bottle.
In all these cases, the proximity to potential customers is of primary importance in choosing a location. A bakery would not be established in a sparsely populated barrio but would be set up in the poblacion or town proper.
2. Proximity to raw materials. The raw material, a factor in production, is very vital to consider when processing removes considerable weights.
For example, it is much cheaper to manufacture cement at a place where raw materials are. Another good example that may be mentioned is the meat packing industry located at Chicago or Kansas City in the United States.
3. Transportation facilities. If the business requires continued transportation, either of raw materials in or of finished products out or of both, the convenience of transportation facilities has a real bearing on the economical conduct of the business. 4. Adequate public and private service. Manufacturing thrives. It's an area where the supply of power and water is plentiful, as illustrated by the following. First, the manufacture of fertilizers requires the location near an ample supply of power. In the case of the Marcelo fertilizer plant near the Maria Cristina hydroelectric power plants in Mendanzo, or of aluminum, as in the case of the Reynolds Aluminum Company located in Condado de los Santos Avenue, Quezon City. Second, the huge public water and power projects of the Tini Valley and in Rennes, American Western states are of the importance of adequate power to successful industrial economy. Fourth is the locating of the principal plant for processing of the atomic bomb components at Hartford, Washington, due to one of the best sources of pus and water provided by the column-based river, in addition to advantages of lactation and abundant volume for process cooling. Determining the community. Once the general area or region has been determined, the selection of a particular community is next. The best choice of a community for the plant depends upon the consideration of the following factors: A. Labor supply. B. Wage scales. C. Other enterprises in the community. D. Taxes and restricting laws. The labor supply. Labor supply means the number of skilled and unskilled persons available for the kind of work to be done.
It is very essential that the required kind of labor should be available as needed at a reasonable rates of wage. There must be a ready supply, especially so at the time of business expansion.
2. The wages scales or differentials. Wage scales or differentials also affect community location.
However, these are not permanent and should not be considered as definite or specific factors in locating a plant site in any community.
3. Other industries in the community. Oftentimes, competing or complementary enterprises in a community influence the decision on the selection of a plant site.
At good examples of complementary industries, we have the mining industry and the machinery industry, whereby the former produce materials which are converted into pig iron, which in turn is manufactured into tools and machineries by the latter to be used by the first industry.
4. Industrial attitude of the community. The attitude and cooperatives of the community as a whole are of some importance.
Thus, companies settle down in Makati or Mandaluyong and avoid other suburban towns or cities where they do not get enough police protection.
5. Taxes and restricting laws. Provincial and town legislation are so important.
Thus, many American vessels fly in the flag of Panama. French corporations organize in Monaco.
Choosing the plant. After determining the region and the community in it, the total step is, of course, the selection of the exact plant site in the community with the following factors to consider: A. The land, B. Transportation, and C. Miscellaneous conditions pertaining to surroundings. The land, whether it is ample in size, including room for expansion, as well as parking space for employee cars, whether the topography is right for the type of building desired, and whether the soil texture and drainage will provide proper foundations. 2. Transportation, whether the site is readily accessible to rail, motor, water, or air transportation as may be required. 3. The surrounding. The third factor has something to do with the surroundings of the site related to the following questions. Will it be a good place for the employees to work? Are there building and zoning restrictions that would not permit the type of building planned? Is the community fire protection adequate and available to the site? General consideration. Plant location today is generally a matter of cost tempered with circumstances. Theoretically, the most favorable location of a plant is that place where,
in consideration of business as a whole, the total cost of producing and delivering goods to all the customer is the lowest. Actually, however, the decision as to plant location is not always based on reason. For more times management is willing to admit corporate or financial ties of the enterprise of personal whims of some top executive exercise the balance of power.
Present trend in plant location. The tendency is to locate plants in the proximity of cities rather than in rural areas or directly in cities. Selection and erection of buildings. The choice of the building depends upon its suitability to the nature, purposes, and requirements of the business. Types of building. There are two basic types of buildings, namely 1. The single-story building, and 2. The multi-story building. Each offers certain definite advantages, the relative merits of which should be weighed with respect to the requirements of the enterprise involved. Advantages of single-story over multi-story. 1. Greater ease of expansion through extension to existing buildings is made possible. 2. There is less vibration where sensitive equipment and materials are employed together with heavy machinery. 3. The soil requirements for foundations are less severe. 4. There is better natural light and ventilation, which is cheaper and hygienically preferable to air conditioning and artificial lighting. 5. There is more usable floor space in a sense because no space is required for elevators and stairways. 6. There is more efficient routing possible and lower materials handling costs. And 7. Better supervision is made possible when the supervisor or executive does not have to go up and down several floors. Advantages of multi-story over single-story buildings. 1. More efficient use of land space, particularly where the space is limited or expensive, can be had. Where a business cannot spread out, it can always go up. 2. Lower cost of construction per square foot of floor space is another advantage. The upper floors are often more repetitions of lower floors. 3. It is cheaper to heat because of less roof and other space through which heat can escape. It is also cheaper to cool where conditioning is necessary. 4. Upper stories are more free from streets, odors, and dyes. Creative equipment sometimes must keep at certain from noise and dirt. 5. Use of petty few of materials is expensive. The flow of production from one stage to another may be facilitated by the gravity flow of products and materials. Present trends in building construction. Allied with the present trend toward the location of plants in suburban areas is the trend towards the erection of single-story buildings.
It does not imply, however, that the multi-story building is no longer in demand.
Typical of other recognized trends in buildings designs and construction are those pertaining to the spacing of columns, the utilization of basements, and the construction of walls, roofs, and floors. Spacing of columns. The present thought on the spacing of columns is in the direction of wider and higher interiors. Use of basement. The basement and sub-basement are being used more and more for the storage of raw materials, for deed storage, for service tunnels, and for employees servicing facilities. Wallings. One of the great difficulties with solid concrete walls is their inflexibility. Roofings. The so-thought roofings have deserved more preference or popularity than the flat roofs, due to improvement in natural lighting offered by the former and sometimes of the lower initial and subsequent maintenance cost. Flooring. The present-day industrial buildings, especially those which have heavy machinery installation, require solid floorings. Present trends in building installation. The building installation and facilities mentioned in here are those to which industry is today devoting major attention. The building installation and facilities which are given major attention are the following: plant illumination. Good illumination in a plant pays for itself in greater productivity, efficiency, improved morale of employees, fewer accidents, and better housekeeping. Light and paint, when used together, comprise a team which can banish darkness, and one without the other will only have to do the work. Lighting fixtures should be appropriate to the type of work that they are to illuminate. Fluorescent lighting. There is a strong trend today in the direction of fluorescent lighting. It is this type of artificial lighting most widely used by industry today, and which has replaced the incandescent light to a great extent. Fluorescent lighting offers the following advantages. 1. It is practically glare-less. Can be made to stimulate daylight and greatly improves night working conditions. 2. Its operation is cooler than that of the incandescent or mercury lamps, particularly where air conditioning is installed. 3. It is more economical in operation. For example, 100 watts of fluorescent lighting being approximately equivalent in foot candle illumination to 300 watts of incandescent lighting. Color conditioning. The other base of good plant illumination is the interior painting. The principal objective of industrial color conditioning is to achieve uniform brightness but sufficient contrast so that the job will appear more interesting to the employee's eyes than in the surrounding area. It was found that a can of paint could salvage many foot candles of light. It is a well-known fact that white paint reflects from 74 to 90% light. Air conditioning. Air conditioning has found increasing application in industry in recent years with the development of more and more processes requiring constant temperature and dust-free air. Plant layout. There are factors influencing a plant layout such as types of industry which may be A. Continuous industry 1 in which all the materials are received at one point from which successive operations turn these materials into finished products. B. Assembly industry, as in this case of car manufacturing. 2 types of product which may either be heavy or light, large or small, and liquid or solid. 3 types of operations which may be A. Wet operation as leather tanning or textile dyeing. B. Heavy machinery as large hydraulic presses. C. Operation which involves fire risk as powder manufacturing or firecracker making. 4. Types of workers as in the case of employment of women which requires engineering changes and the construction of necessary facilities. These are recognized ideals for plant layout in particular plants are 1. Proper balancing of departments and operations with special reference to arrangement, processes, handling of materials, and better control. 2. Adequate internal transportation. 3. Adequate provisions for the receipt of raw materials. 4. Storage and shipment of finished products. 5. Provisions for future expansion. Plant layout and design. Plant layout and design deals with the physical arrangement of factories, plants, warehouses, office and laboratory areas, and commercial establishments. Objectives of plant layout. Making a layout plan is not the end result, even of those responsible for the planning.
For efficiency in planning layouts and plant design, it is important that the real objectives be clearly stated in the planning.
Plant layout fundamentals. By its very nature, a plant facility involves a multitude of factors and considerations: products, materials, sales volume, people, buildings, services, utilities, and the like.
All of this must be blended into a facility that will give the greatest benefits and have the fewest limitations.
A manager should aim at certain fundamentals in his facility. These include 1. Integration of all pertinent factors affecting the layout. 2. Utilization and effective utilization of machinery, people, and plant space. 3. Expansion easy to expand. 4. Flexibility easy to rearrange. 5. Versatility readily adaptable to changes in product design, sales requirements, and process improvements. 6. Regularity, a regular or straight division of areas and relatively even sizes or areas, especially when separated by building walls, floors, main aisles, and the like. 7. Closeness, a practical minimum distance for moving materials, supporting services, and people. 8. Orderliness and sequence of logical workflow and clean work areas with suitable equipment for scrap, trash, and waste. 9. Convenience for all employees, both in day-to-day and periodic operations. 10. Satisfaction and safety for all employees. Layout planning. Basically, any layout planning involves 1. Relationships. Closeness desired between various activities or functional areas. 2. Space in amount, kind and shape for each activity or functional area. 3. Adjustment of the activity areas into a layout plan types of layouts. There are 3 so-called classical type of layout: fixed position, process or function, and product or function, and production or production line. From the above, we note that the decision as a type of layout rests chiefly on 3 elements: P. Product or material, Q. Quantity or sales volume, R. Routine or process or operations. These 3 elements determine the flow of materials in a certain P in a certain queue moving through a certain hour. Installation of the equipment. Once the layout has been approved and reproduced, copies are usually distributed not only to the key factory men involved but also the plant engineers, plumbers, and electronics men so that the necessary construction work may be completed by the time the actual installation is started.
While equipment is being installed, efforts should be directed along lines of prevention and maintenance to facilitate its subsequent operation and repair. Electrical switches, for instance, should be carefully arranged.
Project studies. In the preparation of project studies, the one who prepares it should first find out the different factors which can affect the business if it is to be a proposal for a new establishment or it is for expansion purposes. Technical aspects like cost of production. Are they competitive? Is the manufacturing process suitable to the business operations? Also, the rate of utilization of existing facilities. Financial feasibility. The overall financial position of the company, profit incidence, sales level, debt servicing, if financing is to come from borrowed funds, or etc. Overall, project evaluation can base on the above features.